Howard here with Secret Journey by the Police, of course, from the fabulous Ghost in the Machine album. And Andy was employing the Roland guitar synthesizer quite a lot at this period in time, and this tune uses it quite extensively, actually. Now, I don't have a MIDI controller on my guitar here, and I realize that a lot of people probably don't have a guitar synthesizer at home. If you do, you're golden. You'll probably easily find a patch that is at least somewhat close to what Andy is using on the original recording. But for those of you who do not have one, I will show you the chords anyway that he uses on the intro and then the little breakdown in the middle. And using a heavy dose of chorusing, a lot of reverb and delay, you can still kind of have fun with it, okay? But I'm guessing that most of you are after those main two guitar parts, the verse and the chorus. So I'm going to cover that first, and then at the end of this lesson, we'll talk about those synth chords that he uses, okay? So here we go with the main riff for the verses, which is what you heard at the beginning of the video. And I'll put the tab up on the screen and then play it nice and slowly, okay? Here we go. So it's pretty easy to get off of the tab, but I will talk about it just a little bit. There's some muting going on back here, of course. I've got some chorusing on right now, just a pinch of reverb. I use cross picking to play that, but you don't have to. You can literally do it with all downstrokes if you want to. Your choice, okay? But I do use a little bit of cross picking, which hopefully you can see in my right hand here. The choice is really yours. I think pretty much any kind of picking in your right hand will do, as long as you can play the riff right up to tempo. So now let's talk about the chorus. It's very simple, actually. If you break it down, it's really just a D chord to an E chord. Andy being Andy, that's not what we're going to be doing, okay? There's a lot of, as always with him, there's a lot of chorusing and some delay and stuff going on. I'll show you a couple of ways to play it and kind of one of the ways that I like to do it, which I think you can kind of hear that in the recording. And if you try it against the actual recording, you might have one of those little aha moments where you go, yeah, that kind of works. It sounds cool. But let's simplify. We've got a D triad, 10th fret on the B string, 11th fret on the G string, and 12th fret on the D string. Just those three strings. Then bar across the same three strings at the 9th fret, and then add your pinky to the 12th fret on the B string. So it's a downstroke, downstroke, and then probably an upstroke to bring that note out. And then move this down to the 7th fret and come back. Maybe come back and hit the G string after that. So those two together, we have... So that would be one cool interpretation of it. That will work and sounds great, right? You can also play the chords differently if you want to. If you prefer that, it's the 5th fret on the E string, 7th fret on the B string with your pinky, and then 7th fret on the G string, and that gives you the D chord. So for the E, rather than use a traditional D shape, that would be kind of quite a stretch to reach over there. Just bar at the 4th fret, the first three strings, fret the 5th fret on the B string, so you've got the E chord, and then you can easily reach over with your pinky to reach the 7th fret on the E string. And then just move that down and move it back. Maybe come back, swing back up and hit the B string, right? So that's how that one would work. Sounds just as nice, and it's a little bit closer to the riff, so some of you might prefer to play it that way. But having said all of that, let me show you how I like to play it. And for some reason, this just sits with the recording really well for me. I don't know if it's the illusion of delay or the thick chorusing or whatever, but try this if you'd like against the recording and see what you think for yourself. To my ears, it sounds like he's got a little something more going on. It just sounds like that to me for some reason, and but either way is really nice. Just own it, you know, and play it however you want to. So let me talk about those 2 chords at the beginning of the tune real quick. As you know from the recording, the riff, the rhythm section, the whole thing kind of fades in underneath the synth guitar intro. And Andy's got a couple of little shimmering chords that he plays against the main riff. And the first one is an A minor, bar at the 5th fret, first 3 strings, and then 7th fret on the D string. Then we go to an A minor 9th, which is simply letting go of the bar, just fretting the 5th fret on the G string and the 7th fret on the A string, or the D string, excuse me. And those happen in a cool, interesting spot. The riff is basically 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then he hits on that next stroke of the A string. Right there. So that's where those will fit into the riff. I don't know if that makes sense, but that is where they go. If you want to hit those chords, you'll count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, hit. Finish off the riff, start again, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, hit. So it's just between those 2 chords. So if you're playing with a second player, it's cool to have one person do that as well. So as I was saying earlier in the video, a lot of people don't have a MIDI controller or a guitar synth of any kind, but by using a really heavy dose of chorusing, lots of verb, and some delay as well, you can kind of have fun with this regardless because it is part of the tune. They even break it down and do a bit of it in the middle again. So these are some very, very interesting chords, and I'll put them up on the screen so that you can see them. And a little note on the names of these chords. These are some very interesting chords, and you could give them 2 or 3 different names easily, okay? So I've chosen the names that I've chosen, just breaking them down the way I see them. And but if you see it differently, that's totally fine. You can think of them as different chords than what I've named them, okay? So what you want to do now is you want to turn the volume completely down, completely off on your guitar. You're going to strike each chord and then slowly bring the volume up, okay? And that can be a lot of fun, even if you don't have a a MIDI controller or a guitar synth setup of any kind. So when they get to the middle of the song, Andy brings the synth in again. And the two chords that he's using is the B flat with the C in the bass, and then the A flat sus. And he's doing the same thing, right? And so on and so forth, okay? Now, let's talk about another little thing that's in the tune toward the end of the song where he plays these cool little arpeggios. It's a bit buried in the mix, but it's definitely there, and at about 3:14 or 3:15, you can really hear it start to come out as the track is fading out. And it's basically just an A minor 7th harmony, and he's doing this. And he's laid that right over this. And so how I'm doing that, you can see the shape on the tab, of course, but it's the 10th fret on the B string, the 12th fret on the G string. The B string is struck first, then the G string, then the first E string, and back to the G string. And I start that, I do it with alternate strokes, and I start it with an upstroke. It just feels very natural to me to do that. And it really sounds great against that main riff. So there you go with A Secret Journey from the Police from the Ghost in the Machine album. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson, and we'll see everybody again real soon.